Alright, I'm on my guildmate's account, which happens to be the first ever player to exist in DISLYTE as per 01. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, this is my guildmate, and he has R6 Lapis, D6 as well. I've already tested it out in Phobetor, and so far it's not looking too good. So this team is the best team that I could come up with an R2 Wenlock. There is a better team than this with Lapis, but it's an entirely different team. We're gonna have Lapis on the Thunder set and just a lot of speed. You don't need to have any crit rate because you have Wenlock in your team, and then Wenlock is gonna be slow on the Harmony set. These 2P set does not matter at all. And then Elaine is going to be on fast Harmony set on counter set. The reason why I'm using Adrena is because she has a defense break and also 10% AP boost. This 10% AP boost is not a lot for your teammates, but it's going to be a lot for your R6 Lapis, right? Because she's going to gain 40% AP from that 10% AP boost. And because Adrena is also a fighter Esper, she will have this S3 100% of the time. So whenever you do an S1 on any of your units, she will follow up with her passive, and then when she follows it up twice, she will instantly get a turn, reduce her cooldown, which her S3 has a 2-turn cooldown, which means it pretty much has no cooldown because you have R2 Wenlock, right? So that's the reason why you put Harmony set on her. And you want at least one of your units to be on light set because this will also boost your Lapis. And then Zohong is going to be on relief, 0 speed, and brawler. You need your Lapis to be the fastest in the team, but because you have an R2 Lapis, you will have 20% additional speed on top of the captain ability as well. So if you look at my build right now, Elaine is built faster, but my Lapis still gets Zohong's buff. As long as your Lapis is not 20% lower speed than your fastest Esper, then you should be fine. So with this team, the highest I've seen is yeah, look, the score is very inconsistent because you need to rely on Elaine landing all of the sleep. So yeah, the highest I've seen is 22 million. Let me just do a few blitz. There we go, 22 million. The score layout, mostly going to be Lapis, right? 90% of the damage is going to be Lapis because all of these are not doing any damage. But yeah, most runs are going to look like this, below 10 million. And then sometimes if you get lucky, you get 22 million. Alright, let's take a look at the 22 million run. So with this team, the problem is you don't have a seer debuff and a consistent attack buff unit. She has a major problem. She is really fast, she cycles really quickly, but that's her main downfall because when you cycle like crazy like Lapis, your buffs or attack buff will not last. Your crit damage buff, but this time I have Wenlock, right? Your crit damage buff, if it weren't for Wenlock, is gonna be very low, the uptime. And the fact that she takes too many turns eating up at your turn count for her to build up, that's also her biggest downfall as well. So right now I already have 40 stacks on her. I still have 50 turns on Phobetor, but look at the defense break. I still don't have a defense break on most of her nukes. So with the nuke, she does 870,000. That's again without attack buff. This team does not have any attack buff. It does not have any seer debuff. And the reason why I'm missing those buffs and debuffs is because this team has a lot of necessary components. Number one being Lapis. And then number two, you need R2 Wenlock because most of Lapis's damage is going to be coming from her S3, not her S1. So you need to reduce the cooldown, and then you need Zohong or R6 Unas. But if you don't have R6 Unas, then Zohong is going to be the best option. And then you need one slot for disease or sleep, which in this case is going to be Elaine. And then you need one unit for defense break. So pretty much like all 5 of the slots are locked in if you want to use this type of comp. Let me show you another team. Alright, this is the best team that I can come up with without an R6 Unas. This time we have all of the components. We have attack buff, we have defense break and seer debuff, and we have disease debuff. But once again, the problem is going to be the uptime on all of those debuffs. The set for Lapis is going to be different. You need 100% crit rate now because you're not running R2 Wenlock. Embla will be on relief set and fiery, 100% crit rate. Fast as well because you need to land the disease debuff. Haley will be on the calamity set and counter. Sakura will be on the harmony set and hold fast. As much speed as possible. And then Zohong will be on the same set. It doesn't matter what set you put on Zohong, he's still gonna do absolutely garbage damage. So I couldn't be bothered to give him 100% crit rate. But yeah, with this team, you can get consistently 24 to 26 million. With the best score getting 30 million. So There we go. That's 31 million. That's the best score I've gotten. But again, that's probably the highest you can get. With optimal build, this team can probably get to 40 million maximum. Okay, there we go. 32 million, 24 million on Lapis, and 6 million on Embla. Again, this time around, you don't have R2 Mylock to reduce her cooldown, so you're going to be spamming the S1 quite a lot. It's better if you run her on the Brawler set, but I couldn't get the stats to work on Brawler set, so I just put her on Fiery set. Her damage is going to be coming from her S3, not her S1, right? And another problem with Phobetor is that when you do too much damage to Phobetor, he gains like insane amounts of speed. I think he goes upwards of like 800 to 900 speed, which is insane. So at best, your Lapis, with all of the AP buffs that you can get, with the Zuohong in your team and everything, you can maybe at best get 2 turns before Phobetor gets 1 turn. So you can't really stack up too many turns on Lapis. And again, Lapis early on, she doesn't really do that much damage. Okay, her S3 did 1.6 million, which is pretty good, and she was at like 25 stacks. Once she gets to 40 stacks, that would do about 2.4, 2.5 I think, or maybe even 3 million. And again, this is with Haley's debuff as well. So the boss only has 20% defense, and we also have Seer debuff. But again, the problem is Phobetor takes too many turns for the debuff to be consistent, and the only Seer debuff that you have is Haley's S3, which is on a 4-turn cooldown, right? So the uptime is pretty bad. Alright, so her S3 did 1.9 million, but that was without the defense break. Alright, we managed to land all of the disease debuff, and the boss couldn't get one golden rim buff. But even still, we only scored 32 million, which is not really that good in today's standard. The lowest performing team for Phobetor right now is going to be the Embla team, and that team can score 40 to 60 million. Whereas this team, the best RNG you can get and the best score you can get is about 35 to maybe 40 million. I've already tried a bunch of different teams. I tried this team, which also does not work because there's no healer. Even with R6 Wenlock that provides like sort of a Hades effect, it's still not enough healing because the Hades effect only triggers during your turn. So units like Zuohong is going to die very quick from Phobetor's attacks because this team does not have any sleep. You are relying on Embla to do the disease debuff, so the boss will get to move. I also tried with Brewster, it also didn't work. Adrena is actually better than Brewster in this case because she provides more consistent defense break and also the AP push for Lapis. If you have an R6 Unas, maybe it could work because now you have a unit that fulfills 2 roles, defense break and also AP push with their S1. And he also has a pretty good attack buff uptime, but it's still not enough for Lapis because Lapis will just cycle out of this attack buff very quickly. So maybe this team could work if you have an R6 Unas. You have a sleep debuff, cooldown reduction, you have AP push, you have defense break on 1 unit, and then this slot can be flexible. You can even run a Seer debuff. You can maybe even run Jingwei because every single turn that Lapis takes, she will always have 3 buffs on her. The speed buff from her Divinate, crit rate and crit damage buff from Wenlock. So whenever she does an attack, Jingwei will follow up with her S1 and putting Seer debuff on the boss. So Seer debuff with a Jingwei will be 100% uptime. So this is probably going to be the best team for you to run if you have an R6 Unas. However, in Dark Starlight, she might work because you can free up this slot right here. You don't need to have a disease or sleep unit anymore, and you can maybe run Sakura in this spot. R6 Sakura is going to work pretty well here, providing you with the heals and also additional damage to Lapis. The main problem of Lapis is she needs way too many slots to work in Phobetor. You need her, you need Wenlock to reduce her cooldown, you need a Seer debuff, you need an attack buffer and a defense breaker, and you need the sleep or disease debuffer. If you use a disease unit, then you need a healer in your team, so you cannot run Unas or Wenlock in your team. The second problem is that she is way too fast. The difference between Lapis and, let's say for example, Elif or Sloan is that these 2 units, they can be built with 0 speed and still do the same amount of damage because their damage occurs outside of their turns, not during their turn, right? Whereas Lapis, she will not do any damage outside of her turn, and you need to use the S3 in order to do big damage. The main problem that comes from being too fast is that, like I said just now, the uptime on buffs is going to be way too low on her. Even with R2 Unas providing you with a 2 turns attack up on a 3 turn cooldown is still not enough for Lapis. She's just going to cycle that out super quickly. The only support that has the highest uptime in the game, that has the potential to get 100% uptime on Lapis, is going to be Feng Shun. But guess what? Feng Shun cannot be run in this team because he needs to be run alongside Leaf. This is the best combo in the game by far, and you cannot separate them, right? But yeah, that's about it for Lapis. Maybe, like I said, with R6 Unas, you might be able to make her work in Phobetor. But from all of the other teams that I've tried, she just doesn't work. You're better off just running this team instead of Lapis team. Even with an R0 Wu, the score range for this team is around 40 to 60 million. So yeah, I don't see Lapis being useful in Phobetor anytime soon. That's about it. Ciao.